Hi, welcome to our next level 2 statistical inference video. We're going to continue talking about sampling. Now, remember from our previous discussion on sampling that a carefully chosen sample can be used to represent the population. The sample should reflect the characteristics of the population from which it was taken from. This will lead to an inference which is reliable and trustworthy. However, if the sample is biased, then the inference is likely to be unreliable and untrustworthy. The two techniques we're going to talk about, simple random sampling and stratified sampling. Now, both we need a list of the entire population called a sampling frame, and we use a random number generator to select our sample. Both techniques ensures every item in the population has the same chance of being selected. That's vital to try and make our sample as fair and representative as possible and as reliable and trustworthy like we just spoke about. Okay, our sample size should be at least 30, but we're going to be a bit clever and go for 50. That allows us to have a little bit more numbers in the data set to look at shape and distribution, and also the more numbers, hopefully the more representative the sample will be to the population. Right, we're going to show you how we use NZ-Grapher to do this. So let's start off with our first sampling technique, simple random sampling. Now, if the two groups have a similar proportion of number of items in the population, for example, say 52% female kiwi birds and 48% male kiwi birds, then there's no reason why we can't use simple random sampling. It's a good strategy to use in this example. We'll use this to select our sample. We can use simple random sampling if the number of items are not similar in proportion too. Maybe we had 40% year 13s in a population and 60% year 12s. We can use simple random sampling, and most of the time it'll be fine, but we do run the risk the sample may end up choosing a different proportion of items in our sample. What do I mean by this? Say the sample had 40% year 13 students and 60% year 12. After we've collected a sample using the simple random sampling technique, we could end up, say, with a sample that had 52% year 13s and 48% year 12s. And you can see that the numbers in the sample are slightly different to the population, and our sample may not be a good representation of our population. All right, let's get into example one, show you how to use simple random sampling. A team of scientists have caught, tagged, and released 700 kiwi birds throughout New Zealand over the last 3 years. This forms a population to study. Out of that 700, 364 are females and 336 are males. So we're going to create a sample from this population. Now we're going to do a quick calculation of percentages. So 364 out of 700 is 52% females and 48% males. So it's pretty close to equal proportion, hence simple random sampling is a good technique. Right, let's get out of here and get into NZ-Grapher. So when you load up NZ-Grapher, I'm using the Kiwi data source. You can see that there are the 700 kiwi birds that have been caught and tagged and released over the last few years. Now we want to create a sample from here. We don't want to use all 700, so we're going to click on Sample and More and click on our sample option. Now we want a sample based on their gender, the gender of the two groups. Here are the two numbers that I came up with just before. 364 females, 336 males. So for this, we're just going to type in 50 and 50. We're going to have 50 males and 50 females in our sample. So let's click sample, and you can see now there we've got a sample of 100 birds, 50 males and 50 females. We can now carry on and click our dot plot, collect our weight if we were investigating weight, and gender of the two groups. And you can see the dot plots popped up here for our females and our males, 50 of each. Right, well that's our first technique, simple random sampling. So let's move on to the next video, talk about our next technique. Thanks for watching.